Hey everybody, it's great to see you today. Welcome to Living Power, your online Bible study where we're walking through the Bible in a year. Today is April 28th and it's great to see you today. We are studying the life of David. We're reading 2 Samuel and I'm wondering if this is the first time through for you in studying the life of David. I bet you there are some of you that this is the first time and some of you this is a repeat, but you're digging deeper now and you're seeing things this time that you didn't see before. I am just amazed at all of the struggles David had, some which were caused by his sin, of course, and some were to mold his character because he was the greatest king Israel had, pre-Messianic, of course. And he is a precursor into the line of Jesus because Jesus is a future king of Israel and the King of Kings. So today we look at some of the deep struggles that David had in his life. This would have been a very difficult period. We all have difficult periods in our life. We all have seasons that we go through. And if you're going through a difficult period, I would encourage you, this is a season in your life. You know, as a child, it's very hard to think, oh, our life is never going to change. It's always going to be this difficult. But as we mature and get older and become an adult, we see that there are seasons in our life. And whatever you're going through right now is just a season. Maybe it's a time of great blessing and prosperity. Realize it's a season. Prepare for the days ahead. Maybe you're going through a very difficult time, and remember that it's a season, and just waiting before the Lord and spending time in God's Word is one of the best things that you can do in any season of your life. So in the text today, we read a couple of things. I noticed that Absalom is conspiring against David. Absalom is David's son. That must have been so incredibly difficult to have his son tear away from him like that. Absalom is openly conspiring. This isn't a secret. Everyone can see it. And he's building quite a following of the people for himself. People are fickle, and chasing after their approval just doesn't stick, just doesn't always stick. Number 2, David leaves 10 concubines in his palace unprotected. Now you might think, well, why did he leave? That wasn't a very good idea. But the commentators think that it probably was his only option, that he would have been captured, easily captured if he'd have stayed in the palace and probably killed at that point. So he did have to leave. Now whether or not he had to leave these 10 women behind, he didn't necessarily have to do that, but that was what happens to them. Do you remember that Absalom comes and is with them? And this is actually a fulfillment of prophecy because this was spoken of back in 2 Samuel 12, verse 11 and 12. So you want to go back and look at that it was predicted that this would happen. Number 3, David has the ark. He takes it with him, but he returns it. And I noticed a couple things in the text regarding David's attitude. What would have been your attitude if you were going through these circumstances? I am amazed that his faith was able to stay this strong. Listen to David's words in 2 Samuel 15, verse 26. If the Lord is through with me, meaning I'm not to be king anymore, if the Lord is through with me, let him do what seems best to him. Wow, can we say that about any of the circumstances? That we see God so sovereign in them that we would say, well, this must be God's will. He's allowing it to happen. Let him do with me what he feels is best. That's faith. Here's a second quote. This comes from 2 Samuel 16, verse 10. If the Lord has told him to curse me, this is the guy Simei, I think, that's cursing him, why stop him? Some people came to David and said, are you going to let him talk to you like this? And again, David recognizes the sovereignty of the situation, even in this annoying person. That's amazing. And he says, why stop him? Perhaps the Lord will see that I am being wronged and bless me because of these curses today. Wow. Remember that next time someone does you wrong. someone hurts you or embarrasses you or says something that maybe they shouldn't have that was just disrespectful to you, remember David's words here. Perhaps the Lord will see that I am being wronged and bless me because of these curses. But David knew that the blessing from the Lord would only come if he let the battle stay with God. And he didn't retaliate and he didn't give retribution to this person. He did nothing. He just let the Lord vindicate him. And that is a beautiful picture of faith. Number four, David's forever best friend and advisor. Let me see if I can pronounce this. Ahithophel plots with Absalom to kill David. Ahithophel is David's former best friend and advisor. Ouch, that really hurts. To see all of the players in this plot. It's a modern day soap opera. Everyone has chosen sides. Everyone has a role. Everyone's participating. David must just be beside himself. But yet, in the midst of his sorrow, he writes these most beautiful psalms. We got to read some of them today. And he writes these beautiful psalms for us for all time, which has given us so much comfort. I don't know about you, but I love the psalms. And Bathsheba, I want to show you the familial connection here. Bathsheba, which was David's wife that he saw and he wanted to take for himself, was actually the great-granddaughter of Ahithophel. So Ahithophel must have had some resentment over David taking his great-granddaughter as his wife. Doesn't say that in the text, but you can see it in his actions today, in his plot with Absalom to actually kill David. Number 5, God's will, we see very clearly, is to bring disaster on Absalom. Where do we see this? In 2 Samuel 17, verse 14. God is none too pleased with Absalom's revolt and his desiring to take away the kingship from his father, for God had ordained, it was his will that David would be king. It's never productive to go against God's will. In fact, when we pursue God's will in our life, we're always supposed to pursue it in God's way. So there are lots of different ways we can rationalize that we're on the right side of God, but the only right side is to be in His will, pursuing it in God's way. Now, there are two plans presented in the reading today. Ahithophel actually has the better plan, and the text says this is the better plan. Hushai is the other guy, and he's the one Absalom listens to. He gives a different suggestion. It's not the best plan. Let's look at the differences here. So Ahithophel actually says, here's my plan. I'll go lead the troops. I'll take 12,000. I can go right now. We've got these troops at our disposal. We'll go tonight while David's weary, while he's down and out. We'll capture him. We'll only kill the king, and we'll bring all the other men and all the people back alive, and then we'll have peace in the land. Now that is a better plan for many reasons. Hushai says he's appealing to his pride, Absalom's pride, when he says, how about this? You, Absalom, go and lead the troops. You get all the glory. We will mobilize the entire army of Israel. It'll take some time. We won't be able to go tonight, but you'll have all of these, this huge army, all of these men, and we'll kill them all when we get there. Well, Absalom takes his advice, and we're going to see tomorrow the end result of this one choice. How do you think it will end? Do you think it will end good for Absalom, or do you think it will end badly? Well, we'll have to wait and see tomorrow in the reading. We will find out if this was the wiser plan or not. Now, here's the application for today. Let's see Jesus here in the life of David. You know, I wonder if Jesus in his humanness would look back on these scriptures and read the story of David and if it would give him comfort, because there are a lot of parallels. Jesus was despised and rejected in his own time, just like many of the men sided with Absalom and despised and rejected David. Even today, there are people in our life that despise and reject Jesus, and it takes courage for people like you and me to remain firm and loyal to Jesus, just like many of the men remained loyal to David throughout this whole conspiracy. Also, one of the applications we want to consider today is that we see that God is sovereign. We see Him speaking His plan and His purposes for this situation through the scriptures. God is sovereign. He permitted this rebellion, as one commentator said, as part of the price that David had to pay for the sins he committed in taking another man's wife and having Uriah killed on the battlefield. A third application we could consider is see how God has control of our minds, and He controlled the choice that Absalom made when he chose one plan or another. It will really be the deciding factor in what happens to Absalom and tomorrow is as we read in the scriptures. So I wanted to leave you with this quote today from Quinn Schurer. I think it's beautiful. It says, "A wise gardener plants his seeds, then has the good sense not to dig them up every few days to see if a crop is on the way. Likewise, we must be patient as God brings the answers in His own good time." Certainly David was needing to be patient, and we see that he was able to be patient, not retaliating. He tells his people when we meet Absalom on the battlefield, do not take his life. And we see him waiting on the Lord to bring answers to his circumstances. Can you do the same? Looking at David's life, certainly the faith that he professes here in these pages as a model for us, can we be patient? Can we let God fight the battle for us in whatever circumstances that we are facing today and wait for Him to bring us the answers in His time? That's my prayer for you this day. I hope this has been a blessing to you. We're going to continue tomorrow as we see what happens. Something happens to Absalom in this fight. Tomorrow we're going to find out what that is. I hope you will continue to join me. Blessings to you and yours until tomorrow. Shalom.